Overlanding is defined as a self-reliant journey to remote places where the journey is the primary goal, not the destination. Alright, but what does that really mean? In a way, we ourselves are still learning. But we like the idea. We know what we love, and that's remote places, off-road capable vehicles, and the desire to see what's over the next hill. I guess you can say that we're somewhat of a different breed of explorers. In a term, we are overlanders. Seekers of the wild places and things, peoples and cultures, all experienced out of our vehicles. When we set out, we never really know what we're going to encounter. That's kind of the point. It's that idea that pushes our chair wheels away from the desk and motivates us to take the challenge of the unknown. Some would say that we're a unique bunch. I would disagree. I think that we are just acting on what a lot of us would do, if we could. To some, we are crazy, to leave our world of comforts and trade it for a tent and a one-pot meal. As a team, we made our debut trip to Moab, Utah, a land that mostly resembles Mars. Truly one of the most legendary places to explore by vehicle. There, we learned that this is exactly what we want to be doing, and that this whole thing called Expedition Overland just might work. 4 months have passed since our last overland trip to Moab. 4 months of trial by fire met with just enough success to keep us going. It's incredible to finally be back out, exploring the places of the unbeaten path. It's no coincidence that we start our first episode here, the Boulder River Valley in south central Montana. And it's where I got my start as a kid into the world of exploration. The Roadkill Saloon was once an infamous bar in which the kitchen alone would threaten your existence. A once wild and rowdy place that I myself, at the age of 17, was thrown out of, chased out the door and over the rail after my friends and I crashed it on a weekend trip, narrowly escaping the grasp of a crazed Harley fanatic. Now it's the locals' prized watering hole, and for this weekend warrior trip, our rendezvous point. As our perpetually late fellow adventurer Ryan Erickson arrives, our evening dinner is being prepared by saloon owner Holly. She is dishing a wonderful American hoagie, layered with the best meats, bread, and cheeses around. Carefully compiled with the love of food and booze this Jersey girl so evidently has.
I made a deal with myself that when I was 16 that I was going to buy this bar when I was 50, before I was 50 years old, and I'll be 50 in December.
Holly narrowly made her goal as a 49-year-old something. She left her life in New Jersey, her thriving pink dump truck business, her friends and family to pursue a dream and run one of Montana's most iconic bars. Holly is still a little out of place from the norm, but nonetheless able to make up for the newcomer label with her generous hospitality and killer hoagies. With Ryan's arrival, we ate and enjoyed a fine brew as the bar stayed its course through the evening. Just outside, a fellow overlander nervously watches as his lifeless Land Rover is hauled painfully onto the backboard of a local wrecker, a too common of a sight for a legendary vehicle.
Because the tow guy doesn't know where to hook. The hook-em-a-bombs. The hook-em-a-bombs.
Jeff Gazy discussed the brilliance of British engineering with the fellow, as the rest of us packed our equipment, and with the night falling quickly, we head off into the awaiting adventure of the Boulder River Valley. Sadly, that's more than we can say for the other guy. I guess Overland Journal's editor-in-chief, Chris Collard, tells it straight when he said, "The best overland vehicle is the one that keeps on running." However, we woke the next morning to an equally large problem. A massive problem. One that I had ignorantly created.
We got going, and we got through some of our footage, and it came time to offload, our cameras and stuff like that. And come to find out, old expedition leader right here, forgot the power supply to the computer, which is a showstopper, essentially.
Oops.
Amateur hour.
Brought to you by your leader, Clay Croft.
Call our wives back in town so that they can deliver the power cord to our buddy.
I owe him big time because we wouldn't be filming right now without that.
With our footage offloaded, we regathered, shared a quick lunch, and made our way to the evening's camp spot. 12 miles away, on the other side of some very rugged and steep terrain. The Boulder is one of those unique places to the vehicle community. It's one of the few places in the world left where you can access such remote country. An exceptional wilderness surrounds the area, and it's one that I cherish. The trail is far from smooth, and the farther we go, the road rears its ugly head. Oh yeah.
There it goes. Oh, there.
Go ahead, I'll stop.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
What happened?
It's a little rocky. And, you know, that's how it goes.
Man,
When you take a bike this big on a trail like this.
I'd been up this trail once before, about 5 years ago, and I didn't realize how rough it is.
And I tell you, Ryan in some of these sections, he's a great rider. He's put on 10,000 miles in just over 4 months on his bike. And he has a long history of motorcycle riding before this too, and he was struggling.
But the bike is not the only thing I've ever seen struggle up here. This road pummels lesser rigs. Busted motor mounts, bleeding oil pans, vapor-locked motors, and one flat tire after another are all common sights. However, our BFGs crawled through the worst of it, and soon we arrived at the old mill site of Independence, the very reason this road exists. As I filmed the rigs roll into the mill site, a throttled sound caught my ear. The fine sound of a 75 Toyota FJ40 Land Cruiser. A classic. Ryan Conley had finally made his way to where we were on the mountain, and my insides churned in discomfort as I approached him to see if we had our prized power supply.
Did you get the message?
No. I got nothing, so what'd you say?
Did you get
Oh yeah,
the
that
power supply? I'm like, am I gonna die at this moment in time?
Ta-da!
Join us for pizza tonight?
I sure will. I actually brought Pudgy Pie pizza.
Pudgy pie.
Yeah, I brought sauce and cheese and pepperoni, all in a bag, and breads. And you know those flat plastic Pudgy Pie things? You guys know what those are?
Oh, yeah.
Campfire, like
Oh yeah.
griddle put in a fire.
With our future back in our hands and the remnant fears of a colossal showstopper fading, we let Ryan play hamster just a little longer on the 100-year-old running wheel. We then departed to make camp before the last of the day's diminishing light. That night we laughed about our understated mishaps while cooking on a particularly problematic 40-year-old Coleman stove. Needless to say, our night ended with some misfit pizzas, with burned bottoms and unmelted cheese tops, made for a recipe to be desired. You know, sometimes it doesn't matter how extensive your backcountry cooking skills are, at times it just doesn't turn out. But who cares? We were riding on the achievements of the day. And who can complain when you get to make your home for the night here?
Well, today we are going to hike Monument Peak, which is that. Everybody's pretty excited. Scott's a little nervous, I can tell.
I'm just pretty sure that mountain's gonna own me.
Mentally ready, Scott. That's what I like.
It's not so much the elevation, but the fatness. With our tails between our legs and a slight apprehension of what's before us, we said goodbye to our comrade Ryan and set up the mountain. Despite our lackings in the physical sense, our eagerness to get to the summit empowered our lactic legs to lift in stride. It wasn't long before we realized we were making really good time. You know what song always gets stuck in my head when I hike? 99 Bottles.
What an awful song.
Keeps moving though. 99 bottles of beer on the wall. 99 bottles of beer.
I gotta say, it's a blast to get out again, be in the mountains and be adventuring. I miss this so much.
We filmed our way to the saddle, and none of us could help the feeling that we're suddenly transported into a different world. A world where hobbits held our fates in their hairy hobbit hands, and one ominous ring ruled them all. Our fantasy experience completed, the summit had come into view. I set off to get some high-angle footage, leaving me exposed to the dialogues of the others.
The mountaineer. Oh, he's from Switzerland. Look at those calves. He just has the biggest legs. Oh, it's so amazing. So amazing. Every time he moves, I just yearn in my heart that I want to be near him. I want to hike with him. I want to rope up to his waist.
The ridge lines are exposing as we make our way up to the top. At places, it's one hand in front of the other, and soon the rush of the summit floods in. Some might scratch their head and wonder why we would do this. It's simple, explained by the 3 types of fun. Type 1 fun is when you're sitting laughing with your friends over a loose hand of cards. Type 2 is the situation where you find yourself uneasy, miserable, scared, beyond your limits. But when you make it to the other end, you realize its awesomeness and can't wait to do it again. This is where climbing mountains often fits in. However, it can be type 1 or type 3 as well.
Have you ever seen the...
Type 3? Well, that's when you do something stupid or reckless, and in 10 years, when it's brought up at a Christmas dinner, you quickly change the subject. I wouldn't put it past most of you out there that you already have one of these times in mind. But if you don't, and one doesn't register, perhaps you should consider getting out more. After our monumental descent, no pun intended, we spent a short time at the lake, relaxing and cooling off. When we had our scenic fill, we headed back up the road to a section that had Ryan a little concerned. This section is tough. It's loose, sandy, steep, and has an S-curve for additional flavor. It's almost impossible to pick a strategic line. Ryan was to go first, and a wrong move could have serious consequences.
You have to make these really hard turns while you're climbing up all these huge rocks, and it was just really, really difficult, especially on a bike as big as mine.
You okay?
I'm good.
He's a trooper, and he just takes it with humor, really. I mean, he just kind of laughs at himself. He tipped over, and he's just kind of joking with himself about how silly he must have looked and all that stuff, and that just goes to show like a lot of character in him.
You want to strip?
Yeah. I do kind of want to strip.
He uses wench, and that was kind of a fun thing to see because he's so determined to get, he wants to get it done. He doesn't want our help, he wants us to do it, and I just love that about him.
The second time I attempted it, I walked it and picked my line out, made sure I knew where I was going, and then I just went for it and made sure to stay on the gas and keep it moving up the hill, and worked out really well, except for I hit one of my panniers on a rock.
Caribou down! Hey Ryan! You forgot something!
I just bent the shaft there. We'll try to hammer it back, but I do have a spare. They recommend keeping a spare for this exact instance. It's designed to do this so that it doesn't break your bike, which as you can see, my bike was unbroken. So that's the important part. It's better to have a $20 piece bent than a several $1,000 subframe of your motorcycle bent. So, good to go.
With the worst of the roads behind us, the weather, which had held off all day, was quickly becoming the next factor.
We're trying to get down here before the storm comes.
So we thought kind of our show had been wrapped, and we're going down the road, and I come around the corner, I'm sitting jump seat here, and lo and behold, up ahead there's a tree in the road. Somebody had tried to knob off the top of the tree and turned it back. It looks like they had a pretty dull hatchet to do that with.
Would they gnaw it with their teeth?
Go woodchucks! This is great. You know, we got the tools to get this off the road and make it safer, especially with darkness coming. So it's gonna want to pull that way better. Yeah. We could even snatch off
That stump right there.
that stump right here looks pretty gnarly. Should we cause a weak point? Should we cut into it some?
We could do that.
Right there.
You got an axe?
The worst thing to do is to really load it and have it snap. But
You got boots and pants. You're swinging, buddy.
your arms aren't tired.
You know how much these boots cost?
You know how much my feet cost?
I'm thinking the whole time, like, okay, this is either gonna be really bad or gonna work. You know, as I think in my head, I'm like, that seems like a good idea. Create a weak point. Let's break this thing. This is a big old tree moving through the woods with a winch.
So what we're doing here is, it's called a snatch block. Basically it's a pulley. It is a pulley. This is the ARB snatch block. It's greasable. The snatch block is like essential to your winch gear. Without it, you can't pull from obscure angles. If you find something that is going to be a pretty tough pull, it helps you pull more cable out of your winch, because the more line you have out of your winch, the better your winch performs. You want to get down to the last 5, 6, 7 wraps on the drum. So anyway, pulley will actually double your pulling power.
How many wraps?
5. So the whole idea here is to wrap 3, pull 2. Take these 2 and you pull hard on that. And you can see I can pull as hard as I want on this, and this knot isn't taking any of the load. This is one of those moments that defines adventure. the places in the world, big or small, where you meet your match. This is also the place to be prepared. Your experiences, preparations, and tools all come into play. And for us, and most adventurers, this is pure bliss.
Today was probably way more exciting or awesome than I could imagine. I had so much fun in every aspect, just with the adventure of hiking and driving. It was just thrilling.
Salt of the earth guys, and they're the only guys I'd ever want to be out here with, and got a great team, and I can't wait for the next trip. I'm already thinking about the next trip.